9:01 here on Breakfast Television. A new poll out today suggests most children in Canada are missing their friends and are bored. Our Greg Harper has more on this in Port Coquitlam. And Greg, not really a shocker here.
Yeah, no, it has been a struggle. I know that firsthand with my 10-year-old at home, Mary. Good morning, everyone. Outside Blakeburn Elementary in Port Coquitlam, of course, this has been what we've been seeing throughout the region. Playgrounds continually surrounded by tape. Of course, the schools remain closed. We'll see how it goes in June when some kids get back to the classroom. So this is a just released survey we're talking about this morning. The most common word our youth are using to describe how they have been feeling lately, that word is bored. 71% of kids from 10 to 17 are saying that, according to a just released survey from the Angus Reid Institute. More than half surveyed say what they missed the most during the pandemic are their friends. Online schooling continues to take place, of course, at pretty much every home that has kids throughout the region. And some good news here, 75% feel they are keeping up. The bad news, 60% say they are largely unmotivated, and 57% say they dislike the current arrangement. Of course, it differs from school to school, district to district, just how this virtual learning is taking place. We finished with this. The survey also asked our youth, what are you doing to keep busy during COVID-19? At the top of this list, 88% saying, well, they're watching movies and streaming content. 74% say they're playing video games. And for my son, it's a bit of both, and we're constantly trying to manage that. It is a bit of a struggle right now. Mary?
It's a weird time for sure, but hopefully kids will have the choice to be able to go back to school before summer. Thank you so much, Greg. 9:03 here on BT. It was a gorgeous weekend, and many of us in the Lower Mainland hit the parks and beaches to enjoy the weather, but of course, that sparked concerns over social distancing. Many people expressed their concerns on social media after seeing crowds of people at Kids Beach and English Bay. The Vancouver Park Board says it has no plans to restrict access and adds those photos of packed beaches may be misleading.
You know, the photos you see online and kind of I've seen a lot of that sort of Twitter shaming kind of photography for all these groups. Sometimes it looks really shocking and sometimes it is, and other times it's kind of the perspective that, you know, the way the camera is positioned and what's taken. It really looks super crowded, but actually it's not as bad as it seems.
The tent city in Oppenheimer Park has officially been cleared out. Campers were forced to leave the park in downtown Vancouver by noon on Saturday. Some agreed to temporarily move into area hotels arranged by the city. Others who refused to go to a hotel moved to the parking lot next to Crab Park near the Port of Vancouver. The parking lot is federally owned, so the Park Board does not have jurisdiction. The Vancouver Police Department is monitoring the situation. And starting today, you have to wear a mask if you're going shopping at T&T Supermarket. The Canadian grocery store already implemented temperature checks for customers in late April. T&T has 4 locations in the Lower Mainland. Well, what if the only place you could be yourself was outside your home? As Taylor Brott reports, the LGBTQ community is facing isolation and a lack of freedom of expression amid the pandemic.
We go to our communities, in physical places quite often, not only for that sense of welcoming, but also for that sense of safety.
Many people in the LGBTQ community say meetups and social gatherings were the place they could truly be themselves. But with public gatherings being banned and people being asked to stay home in recent weeks, many say they feel isolated.
Of course, isolation is a huge one, particularly in, amongst our seniors, amongst our elders.
Emma is with Outlink Calgary. She says the pandemic is exacerbating all the issues they already faced.
Many of, the folks in our community don't have adequate housing, and those who do still may or may not have access to the technologies that we're now using to connect.
According to the LGBT Foundation in the States, those in the community are more likely to have mental health and substance abuse issues in general. Now these issues are worsened by a lack of in-person supports and a normal routine.
Lots of the folks that I do, peer supports with have been really talking about that sense of loss and hopelessness and this idea of, they had something to look forward to and now they don't.
Something they look forward to is Calgary's Pride Festival, an annual celebration and protest for LGBTQ rights and freedoms. It was planned for August 28th to September 6th. On April 29th, it was announced it would be reimagined to be more of a virtual event.
It's quite upsetting to, hear that that's not going to be happening in that capacity, especially for those people that, Pride is, the one space where they get to feel, fully themselves and welcome and at home.
Outlink Calgary is pacing themselves during this pandemic, meeting with groups and individuals daily and weekly to do what they can to absolve disconnection and isolation.
We'll reach out to you every week to see how you're doing, to have a chat, to see if there's anything that you need.
In Calgary, Taylor Brott, City News.
Some sad news coming from the entertainment world this morning. Actor and comedian Jerry Stiller has died at the age of 92. Jerry's son, actor Ben Stiller, announcing on Twitter he died of natural causes. Jerry was well known for bringing the laughs on hit TV shows like Seinfeld and King of Queens. Throughout his decades-long career, Stiller also appeared alongside his son in several movies, including Zoolander and The Heartbreak Kid. Well, as BC businesses look at safe ways to reopen, a local tech duo has come up with a simple solution so people can avoid touching door handles. Ashley Burr has more.
Kicking, nudging, or backing into it. We do everything we can to avoid the dreaded door handle. As businesses look at ways to safely open up during COVID-19, a local tech company has come up with a simple solution so people can keep their hands to themselves.
Don't pull. There's going to be new precautions that come into play after all this, like whether or not waiters and waitresses have to wear gloves and masks and all this. This is something that they should be looking at installing in all their doors, their bathrooms and stuff like that.
It's a way to let our shoes do the touching. The toe pull is the latest tool two local craftsmen believe can help change the way restaurants operate as they cope with COVID-19 protocols.
Bolts to the door here. 2 or 3 self-tapping screws go into the door, and then depending on what the door is made of, if it's not that strong, we have a bolt that goes through the whole door and then bolts from the backside so it can't rip out. And then we have this grip piece on the front that is cut with a laser, and then we bend it up, which your shoe, the sole of your shoe, would then grab onto and pull the door open.
As we learn more about the virus, experts say it can survive longer on certain surfaces.
For periods that may be as long as days, particularly on hard surfaces like steel or plastics, it can survive up to a few days.
Look at that!
UBC infectious disease expert Dr. Peter Phillips agrees that solutions like these are key as we continue to adapt to our new physically distant world.
It's your fingertips that are probably the biggest culprit in spreading this infection. It's putting a finger that's been on a contaminated surfaces in your mouth or scratching your eye and inoculating yourself that way. That's how one is going to transmit this infection.
Due to the overwhelming response, the pair is now developing a hands-free lock for bathroom stalls.
Theoretically, restaurants and stuff like that can offer their customers a full hands-free experience. You have like the touchless tap, you have the touchless soap, touchless paper towel. You can leave the door without touching it with a toe pull, and now you can go in and out of the stall without touching the door.
In New Westminster, Ashley Burr, City News.
A special Mother's Day for a number of moms who celebrated at the Tapestry Arbutus Walk Seniors Residence in Vancouver yesterday. Residents watched local singing legend Federico Fuoco from their balconies and windows, along with his father Johnny, as they help bring a little joy on this special day.
Right now with this pandemic, they can't go outside and enjoy the outdoors, and especially with their loved ones to come and visit them. They can't do that right now. So if we can spread some joy and bring them some happiness, especially on a day like today, it's a real honor.
All right, turning to sports now. Some bad news for baseball fans on the island, and a Canadian legend is set to be immortalized. Sportsnet 650's James Cebulski has more.
Well, good morning, everybody. UFC 249 did actually go down over the weekend. You know, the fight event that was on, it was off, it was on, it was on, it was on, off. Nevertheless, it finally went down in Jacksonville, Florida. Had a little bit of everything. A spectacular, shocking win by Justin Gaethje in the main event over Tony Ferguson, which was deemed by a lot of people as a bit of an upset. You also had one fighter test positive for COVID-19, and former Olympic gold medalist Henry Cejudo, who was retained his bantamweight title and then promptly retired. Now, from a Canadian standpoint, great news as GSP, George St. Pierre, the legendary mixed martial artist. It was announced over the weekend that he will be officially inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame later on this year. News also over the weekend, the Victoria Harbour Cats baseball team have announced that they will not take part in the West Coast League this summer, also joining Kelowna as a team that will not take part as well. A lot of people wondering what's going to happen with the Vancouver Canadians baseball season at Nat Bailey this year. That it remains on hold according to Post Media, but we could get some clarity later on this week from the Canadians, according to Steve Ewan in the Vancouver province. That's all you got for a Monday morning. Stay safe out there.
Thanks so much, James. You too. All right, coming up on Breakfast Television, a special message coming from the Royal Columbian Hospital Foundation. We'll have more on this. Stay with us.